this section is about establishing our hierarchy of doctrinal authority. As you know, we say that these are the popular notions of what samatha and vipassana are. Now we have to check and see whether these popular notions correspond or tally with what is found in our scriptures. Right? But what are our scriptures? Which scriptures do we use as something that is authentic and reliable? Right? So this is what this whole section is about. We are trying to find out how to determine which is the authentic teachings of the Buddha. Now here on page 39, there is a note which says that in the four Nikayas, sutta refers to only one of the 9 types of Dhamma taught by the Buddha. Right? So now I want to show you the Ninefold Classification of the Dhamma. This is found in the suttas, but in the agamas there are actually more than that. There are actually 3 more. There are 12 altogether, right? But here in our Nikayas there are only 9. Now originally we could say that there's just the Dhamma Vinaya. Sometimes the Buddha would just use the word Dhamma Vinaya to refer to his teachings. Sometimes he would call his teachings the Brahmacharya, with particular reference to the holy or celibate life of monastics. Dhamma Vinaya covers a larger area, not only for monastics but also for lay people as well. And then from here, this Dhamma Vinaya, we can separate it into Dhamma, which is doctrine, and Vinaya, which is discipline. So this Dhamma is classified in the Nikayas into 9. Sometimes there are less than 9, but there's the Ninefold Classification. So one is called a Sutta, which is discourse. The second is the Geya, which is a mixed prose and verse. Third is the Vyakarana, exposition. Now this word exposition is very interesting, because nowadays we call everything sutta. During the Buddha's time, suttas do not refer to all the discourses. They refer to a particular type of discourse. But now, everything is sutta. Even Anatalakkhana Sutta, and then Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, the first and the second suttas of that the Buddha was supposed to have preached, they are also called suttas. But interestingly, in the sutta itself, in Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, for example, when the Buddha was giving the discourse, then one of the 5 ascetics, one of the 5 monks, attained the Dhamma eye. Right? So at that time, how was it phrased? It was phrased, Imasming Vyakarane Bhanyamane. While this Vyakarana, this exposition was being spoken, so and so got the Dhamma eye. Isma Kundanya got the Dhamma eye. So it is the same also for the Anatalakkhana Sutta, the second discourse of the Buddha, at the end of which the minds of the 5 ascetics were freed or liberated from the taints or the inflows. Right? So calling everything that the Buddha taught as sutta is a later development. During the Buddha's time, that was not what was called sutta. Right? Sutta is only a particular type of discourse. We have to, now this is going to be part of your discussion, what actually sutta means. We also have gatha, which are just verses. For example, Dhammapada, Ratana Sutta, Mangala Sutta, Metta Sutta. These are just gathas. Then we have Udana, inspired utterance. This would refer to a certain type of discourse whereby the Buddha, when he observes something, then he would utter some words. For example, he would see this particular thing from the Udana. One monk was sitting at the foot of a tree, and then his ex-wife brought the child along and asked the child to go and tell the father, Samana, recluse, you are my father. Take care of me. Or words to that effect. I've forgotten exactly what he said. But the monk was very nonchalant and sat under the tree without being moved by the words of the child. And when the Buddha observed that, he uttered an udana. about how a monk who has gone beyond can be nonchalant, can be very aloof. Our mentality, that will seem like very strange, isn't it? Unfeeling father, no sense of responsibility. But anyway, the Buddha was inspired by that to give an utterance, praising those who have freed themselves from any bondage to the world. Now, iti vataka means thus was said. So this refers to a type of discourse where it starts with iti vuttang bhagavata. This was said by the Buddha. But nowadays, almost all our discourses start with evang me sutang. That was supposed to have been uttered by Asma Ananda during the first council, first Sangiti. Then we have Jataka, which is usually translated as birth stories. But Jataka literally means what had happened. And what had happened could be birth stories, but not necessarily so. A lot of what we know now about the Jatakas in the Pali Canon were composed of very terse and succinct verses. In the first few 100 or 200 Jatakas, they were just 1 or 2 or 3 verses. In fact, the first 100 were usually 1 or 2 verses only. And for normal people to read the Pali Canon, the Pali verses, sometimes it can be rather incomprehensible. Because one Jataka is just one verse, and you don't know head or tail what it means. So the commentary will then try to explain it, maybe in 4 pages. So you can imagine how much has been added, to make it comprehensible. Another feature is that in the early Jatakas, nothing is mentioned about the Bodhisattva. The word Bodhisattva is not even found in the Pali Canon for the Jatakas. In the later Jatakas, the epic Jatakas, a few, many verses, there, once in a while, you find the word Bodhisattva. And there is also no roundup. Nowadays, if you read Jataka stories, at the end of the story, you would have a roundup. Who was who, right? The clever monkey was the Bodhisattva, the hunter was Devadatta, and then the monkey's assistant was Sariputta, and so forth. All these roundup comes at the end of the story. These were all filled in by the commentary. Nothing like that is ever mentioned in the Jatakas itself. And many of these Jatakas actually talk about animals, and they remind me of Aesop's fables. And modern researchers have actually come to the conclusion that many of these Jatakas were actually from the folklore of India at that time. But they were used maybe for the first time in a moralistic way, that to give a moral to the story for teaching the Dhamma. So Jataka means what had happened. So all these could be folklore. They might have happened, but need not necessarily have anything to do with the Bodhisattva. Abhuta Dhamma are marvelous things that happened to the Bodhisattva when he took rebirth in the mother's womb, or when he came out from the mother's womb. Miraculous things happen. So there are a couple of suttas about this, and they are a special category called Abhuta Dhamma. And number 9 is Vedalla. It's a Q&A, question and answer. There are a couple of there are 2 very famous Vedallas. One is called the Mahavedalla Sutta, and the other one is called the Chula Vedalla Sutta. The Mahavedalla Sutta is a dialogue between Asma Sariputta and Asma Kotita, 2 very eminent disciples of the Buddha who were praised by the Buddha in their analytical knowledge. And the other one is the Chula Vedalla Sutta, a dialogue between the nun Dhammadinna, Ayya Dhammadinna, and a layperson by the name of Visakha. The exact relationship between these 2 people are not mentioned in the suttas. But the commentary said that they were husband and wife before. And then the husband, while listening to the Buddha's discourse, attained to the third stage of awakening, became an anagami. And when he went back home, he announced to the wife that, now he cannot stay with her like man and wife, but he can regard her as a sister, or words to that effect. And this, of course, made her very upset. But probably because she has the Bodhi seed in her, she asked what had happened, and he said that he had seen the Dhamma, and she asked whether it was possible for a woman to also see the Dhamma. And when he said yes, she renounced, became a bhikkhuni, and eventually became an arahant, while the husband was still an anagami in the lay world. So according to the commentary, this is a dialogue between the two of them, and the ex-husband was curious to know her spiritual progress. So he asked a lot of very profound questions on meditation and the Dhamma, and she was able to answer them very well. So well that the Buddha actually praised her and said that I myself would have answered in the way that she had. Okay, so this is a very famous sutta called Chula Vedala Sutta.